Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway and welcome back to another special Wrenn unboxing. Now yes, last year, at the end of last year, I did tell you all that I'd finished unboxing all of my Wrenn locos and that there wouldn't be any more unboxings, and so obviously, as is quite typical, I managed to buy another one. And I did manage to buy it in time for the big Wrenn running session, which I did in December, so you might have seen it already. But I thought I might as well make it a Wrenn full house and finish reviewing my Wrenn collection. So I'm going to unbox the last loco today, and here it is, it's this one. And this is W2207 060 Tank SR, and it's also known as the R1 tank engine. So yeah, let me get this one unboxed for you then, here we go. Alright, let's get to it then, and as you can see the box for this one is in very good condition, and I like that, I do like these boxes. Alright, let me show you what's on the end of the box then. I think I did give the game away a second ago, but it's W2207 060 Tank SR, and yes, as I say, this is the R1 locomotive. Alright, let me get this lid off then so you can see it straight away, and there you go. Yep, as you can see, it is in the southern green livery. This one is running number 1127. Now, I don't have any paperwork for this one, so I'm just going to get it out straight away. And the first thing I noticed when I took it out of its packaging was how light this is. And the reason for this lightweight is actually because this model is done in plastic. Now, most of you who know Wrenn will know that that's quite unusual because most of their models were done in cast metal. And in fact, I believe this model, just like the rest of the Wrenn range, actually originated from Hornby Dublo, and they also made cast models. Now, in the 1960s, or in probably even the late 1950s, there was a big competition between Hornby Dublo and Triang. Now, Triang was considered a toy company. They made trains for children. They were intended for children, whereas Hornby Dublo made cast metal trains which were much more serious, and they were intended for adults. Now, in the 1960s, certainly, Triang were doing very well for themselves, and Hornby Dublo were really starting to feel the strain. So here's my theory anyway. In an attempt to try and compete with Triang and their cheap manufacturing, they probably created this model, very cheaply through plastic, so as they could, release a cheap and affordable model, so that all those people that like Triang stuff could have afforded to buy this. So maybe that's what they did. But anyway, Hornby Dublo went bust, and Triang actually did own most of their stuff for a while before selling it on to Wrenn. So yeah, that's basically what happened to the model in my opinion. I'm not too sure about that, but it seems pretty likely. Alright, here's a little bit of information then on the R1 locomotive. So the class started out in 1888 as the SER, which is the South Eastern Railway R-Class locomotive, designed by James Stirling. 25 of the class were built over a 10-year period for shunting duties, and then around 20 years later really, in the early 1910s, 13 of the class were rebuilt with new boilers of Wainwright's design, and these rebuilt versions, these altered versions, were reclassified as the R1, which is what's represented by this model. Withdrawal of the class started in the early 30s, that was the R class, not the rebuilt ones, and yet it wasn't until 1960 that the final R1 was withdrawn and scrapped. So sadly none was survived, but they did have a very long working life. Okay, let's have a look at the model then. Alright, so there she is then, the R1 in the southern green livery. Now, first of all, yes, it does look a very elegant locomotive, but secondly, I'm not terribly impressed with the detail. Well, a lot of people would say here that it's extremely impressive for the time, but I would say that even by the end of the 1950s, Triang were actually producing much more superior models. And, of course they were, because it wasn't much longer before Hornby Dublo went out of business. But even so, Wrenn would have been producing these probably in the 1970s, so for that sort of time, obviously the detail on this is probably not acceptable. But let's look at it anyway. Of course, it is a shame about the livery because you haven't got any lining. Now, I don't know if the real locomotives had lining on them or not. It would be quite interesting to find out, but sadly this one is done in that sort of block green, and you have the black cab and the black smoke box. But apart from that, the only painted detail you have really is the Southern 1127 written on the side, which again is a little bit scruffy, isn't it? I mean, it might have looked better back in the 70s or in the 60s, but it certainly looks a bit dated nowadays. Now, if I show you the buffer beam, as you can see, I do like the fact that those buffers have been painted silver. Now, I actually did that because when I got the loco, they weren't in great condition, but actually the buffers were done in silver when they came out of the factory, so yeah, I've just fixed that basically. Alright, let's look at what moulded detail there is then. Of course, you do have a fair bit of pipe work, and on the smoke box door there is a fair amount of riveting, but of course there are no separately fitted parts except the safety valves, just there. If we have a quick look in the bunker at the back, you can see the coal load isn't too bad at all. Of course, it's not going to be up to modern standards, but I think for back in the day, that is pretty good. And round the back, you can see there's a fair amount of moulded detail, although you do have the lug which holds the chassis in, which is a little bit unrealistic looking. Obviously there isn't any cab detail because the motor sits inside there, which is a bit of a shame, but that is quite common for the time. So yes, quite a basic locomotive. Of course, it does have a few downsides to it as a Wrenn because it isn't heavy, so it doesn't have the massive performance advantages over other locomotives. And also the detail isn't all that good, so yeah, mixed feelings about this one. I do like it, I must admit, but of course I think there were better options out there at the time. Okay, let's get her onto the layout then and see how she runs. Okay, and there she is then, number 1127 down on the railway, and I'm going to test her for you in just a second, but first of all let me show you what's on the track. First of all, in a moment, because she's a goods locomotive, she is going to be coupling to these ocean wagons, as you can see, so hopefully that will be nice. Then on the middle line we have everybody's favourite, the Q1060 tender engine, and she has 4 southern coaches. And then on the very inner line, one of my personal favourites, the Dougal Drummond 700 class. And she's also got some southern coaches, so hopefully that will be nice. And also, when I get all this stuff running, keep an eye out because I've got 6 other locomotives on the railway. They all have something in common, but there is one odd one out. So see if you can tell me what it is and why. Alright, here we go then. Let's try the Wrenn R1 and see how it is. Now, it's stuck right on this express point. The dead part, you can't see it, but it's just in front of her there. So that's a bit nasty. But we'll see if she can take it. You never know. Okay, let me ease her up a little bit then on the power and see what she does. Oh, she's going backwards anyway. What a sneaky girl. Okay, well that's very good. But of course she's very light, so there's a lot less work for the motor to do at the moment. Alright, that's pretty impressive, I think. Not bad at all. Right, let's try forwards then. She's not getting away with it. Onto the express point. Ah, and she did it. Wow, that is very good. Wow, that's very good. So, good slow speed performance then, but I can tell you that she's not very powerful because of course she is so light. Oh, she didn't stop. Okay, let's couple up to those wagons then, see what happens. Okay, I think she's coupled there, a bit of a rough coupling, but hopefully she should manage these anyway. So, here she goes, yeah. Okay, and moving on to the Q1 then. Here she goes with her southern coaches. Wow, I love that one. And last but not least, the 700 class. There she goes. Okay, and let's have that running session then. And don't forget to keep an eye out for those other locomotives. And there's the first one back there. Here she comes then, the R1. Quite a noisy runner, but certainly nice and smooth. And if she's doing quite a small freight train, which I suppose often she will be doing, then that's just fine. And there's the lovely Q1. Hornby, of course, re-releasing that this year, so hopefully that will be nice. I don't know if I'll get one. Might be nice to have a southern one. And yep, there's the Wrenn 060 again. Must admit she does look very nice at the front of the train, doesn't she? But of course in real life they were used for shunting, so perhaps I'll do some shunting with her one day, who knows. Lovely 700 class. Very much like that one. That's a very nice loco, that. And now for my ratings then on the Wrenn R1. First of all, detail, I would say it's just below average, so unfortunately I've given it 4 out of 10. Yes, it's not bad for the age, but trying, we're making much better models at the time. Performance, 6 out of 10. The motor in these is okay, but the loco just doesn't have the weight to pull as much as most of the Wrenn locos do, so 6 out of 10 there. 7 out of 10, the character is pretty good. I mean, looking at the pictures, it does look like quite a faithful representation, but of course the detail hinders how much character this model can have. Build quality is pretty good though. It is a good solid construction, so 9 out of 10 there. And I picked this one up for £30, which is about the cost of a Railroad 060, so that isn't too bad, 8 out of 10. That gives us 6.64 overall then, and if I pop that into the ranking, you can see that ends up at 4th, just under the Krusty 9F. There we go. Well, I'm sorry if this has been a bit of a dull review. I know this is not the best locomotive in the world, but hopefully you're going to enjoy the next review I've got. It's a real cracker, so see if you can guess what it's going to be. Guesses in the comments. I might even post a clue on Twitter later tonight, who knows. Or on Facebook, of course. The 700 class should be approaching. Yep, there she is. Always a good run of that one. Oh yes. Yep, so it's been a bit of a southern themed running session anyway. Quite enjoyed it. Not too bad, and yes, I did give her a bit of a nasty score, but I do still like it, as I say. I just think I've got to try and be as honest as I can with these reviews, and compared to other things like the 9F and the B12, it just doesn't really stand up too well. Doesn't mean to say it doesn't have value though. Alright then folks, well that is all I've got for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the review, and if you did, please feel free to leave the video a like or even a comment, and if you like you can try and guess what's coming next review wise. Also, if you'd like to, please feel free to check out the Facebook and the Twitter pages, and they are at facebook.com/samstrains and twitter.com/samstrains. It would be lovely to see you on there, and also if you want you can send in your pictures or artwork or whatever you want to have put on the wall of fame. You can send those to samstrains@outlook.com if you like, and I'll put those up for you. But for now, once again, thank you very much for watching. Always lovely to have your company, of course, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers everybody.